Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Spoonful of Species, your go-to place for conservation through baking. My name is Caitlin, and I'm an interpretive naturalist with years of experience telling the stories of animals both aquatic and terrestrial. I'm also an avid baker, so each week I bake an animal-themed dessert and then discuss the conservation stories for the animal and hopefully help you learn a few fun facts along the way. This week I made elephant ear bread. It's a bit of a yeasted bread that kind of poofs up when you fry it, and then you cover it in a cinnamon sugar, and it is delicious. To make your elephant ear fried bread, you will need 1 1/2 cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 6 tablespoons of shortening, 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast, 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 quart of vegetable oil for frying, 3 tablespoons of cinnamon, and 6 tablespoons of sugar for dipping them in after you fry them. To make your elephant ear fried bread, first, in a saucepan over medium heat, combine your milk, salt, and 2 tablespoons of sugar and all your shortening and heat until everything melts together. Let it cool to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Then stir in your yeast and let this sit for about 5 to 10 minutes or until nice and foamy. Transfer all of this to a mixing bowl and slowly mix in your flour with a kneading hook until it is nice and smooth. Cover your dough and let it rise in a warm place for 30 minutes to an hour or until doubled in size. Heat 1 inch of oil to 375 degrees Fahrenheit in a clean pan. Roll out your dough into very thin sheets and cut them to shape roughly like African elephant ears. Fry it in oil 30 seconds to a minute on each side or until light golden brown. It may puff up, which is perfectly fine and makes it crispy and delicious. Finally, dry on paper towels, then dip the remaining sugar mixed in with cinnamon to create your cinnamon fried dough elephant ears. My elephant bread was actually baked into the shape of African elephant ears. So the difference between African and Asian elephants are varied, but a large thing that is able to help you tell them apart is their ear shape and size. African elephants have very large ears. They are actually kind of in the shape of Africa. So it's one really easy way to tell them apart. Elephants are incredible animals that most people already know and love, and African elephants are one of the most popular animals in the world. Elephants are incredible animals. They have lots of adaptations that help them survive in their natural habitats, and they need our help. African elephants have over 40,000 muscles in their trunks that help them kind of do a lot in their lives. They use their trunks to pick up their food. They are prehensile. A lot of times they'll have almost like little prehensile grips at the end of their trunks. They use it to pick up water, to suck up water into their trunks, which they then squirt into their mouths, so that's how they drink. They've even been known to use their trunks to snorkel. So while they're swimming, they might stick their trunks up out of the water at like a snorkel like you or I might use when we go snorkeling. Now, their trunks and those 40,000 muscles are very impressive. Obviously, they are very agile with it, but they have to learn to use their trunks, just like we have to learn to kind of stand up and walk and use our body parts as well. Although we only have like 40 some odd muscles in our whole face. So they have a lot more learning to do to get really good at using those trunks. They might also use their trunks to kind of make loud noises. We've all heard an elephant trumpet and it's very impressive, but they will have to learn how to do that too. They're not just born learning how to talk to one another. Speaking of communication, elephants will use their bodies to communicate with one another. They can use those trunks to kind of trumpet at one another. They can use their big ears. They'll often wave them at one another as a greeting or maybe even a warning. They will also communicate through the ground, which sounds crazy, but they can rumble at kind of a frequency that you and I can't hear, but that they can feel through the ground. And they can communicate with one another that way, which is really incredible and awesome. They do form kind of a herd, a big elephant herd, and the female, there's always a female at the top. She's in charge, and the rest of the elephants kind of follow her lead. And they create one big family, and everybody in that family does have a job to do, and they all have to kind of listen to her. She's the matriarch of the house, so she is in charge. It helps keep them safe, and they work together to survive out in Africa, which is really awesome. Elephant ears are not just delicious, the bread kind, not the real kind, but they're also really, really important to elephants to help keep them cool. So it becomes very warm in Africa, and I mentioned they do like to swim, but they can also keep cool by fanning their ears. They have lots of blood vessels in those ears, and it actually helps them cool off by cooling the blood in the ear vessels, or in the blood in the ears, before it goes back to the rest of their bodies. Another interesting part of elephants are their teeth. So just like you or I, elephants have teeth in the back of their mouths that help them kind of grind and crush up their food. But unlike us, their teeth come out like a conveyor belt every 10 years or so, and they can have up to 6 sets of teeth instead of 2. Like we have our baby teeth and our adult teeth, but they get a new set of teeth every 10 years because they're constantly grinding on all of that food that they eat. Elephants also have tusks, which are just teeth. So their tusks are just an extended tooth, and they are poached for those teeth. It's called ivory, and those teeth are used as a defense and to be impressive. Elephants are the largest land mammal, and unfortunately, like I said, they are being poached for those tusks and for their body parts, but there's plenty being done to help elephants out in the wild and even in captivity. So there's plenty that you can do to help elephants too. Number 1, you can buy elephant-friendly coffee. You can Google this. Elephant-friendly coffee is basically coffee that is grown in a way that doesn't damage the habitat and the natural ecosystem where elephants live. You can also support the Elephants and Bee Project, which is one of my favorite projects. I mentioned it during the bee episode, and it's really awesome because it helps people, it helps bees, it helps elephants, and everybody wins because they work together. I will include the link to the Elephant and Bee Project in the description. Also, you guys can visit the Reteti Elephant Sanctuary website, which is a place in Kenya that helps rescue orphaned elephants and raise them and release them back out into the wild so that they can continue being elephants in the world for generations to come. And last but not least, if you're buying wood, look for a Forest Stewardship Council stamp on that wood, or even ask the people who you are buying it for if it is Forest Stewardship Council certified. This helps ensure that the wood that you're purchasing comes from places that are not deforesting places where elephants live and other animals that we love too. This has been another episode of A Spoonful of Species. I hope you had as much fun learning about elephants as I did making these elephant ear breads, and I hope you join me again next week to take another bite out of conservation.